This Guy's Garage. Like and subscribe.
Can you confirm that there are ongoing RCMP criminal investigations respecting foreign interference arising from the 2019 and 2021 elections?
Thank you for the question. Madam Chair, I can confirm that there were no criminal investigations into the 2019 elections, as per Commissioner Lucky's letter to this committee dated 28th of November 2022. That being said, there are active investigations into foreign actor interference activities at any given time, multiple investigations. With respect to the 2021 elections, I am unable to respond whether there are active investigations into the election at this time.
I can answer this. Australia's intelligence service recently intercepted a foreign interference plot, and the situation had become so grave that the Director General of Security, Mike Burgess, confirmed espionage and foreign interference on democracy with Australia have now supplanted terrorism as the nation's principal security concern. You're probably aware of that. He also expressed that Beijing used dating apps to mine confidential information from thousands of Australians with access to classified information. That's not me. That's you. It would be the equivalent here in Canada. So, in response to Australia's new laws make it a crime to engage in covert, deceptive, or threatening conduct on behalf of a foreign government, and so on. And we're trying to figure out here as parliamentarians what we should be doing. But it's really difficult to figure out what we should be doing if we actually don't know what's going on. And I can look up right now. I can read Bloomberg, various very credible news articles coming out of Australia where they say that they've intercepted people who are bankrolling money. We've had the same allegations here in Canada, yet nobody will say anything. If they're willing to do it in Australia, if Beijing's willing to do it in Australia, I don't know why they wouldn't be willing to try it in Canada as well. All I hear is media reports, but I can't seem to get a single official from the Government of Canada to confirm or deny that there is actually money that's being bankrolled. So I can look at the documents that you provided. I look at the cybersecurity threats against electoral infrastructure, it's fully redacted. Cybersecurity threats against political parties and government officials, fully redacted. Foreign interference that's politically motivated, fully redacted. Overt influence, fully redacted. Overall threat assessment, fully redacted. I look at the other sides of the pages here. Foreign interference for the public, fully redacted. I don't know what to communicate with my constituents. And it's a really awkward position to be in because I don't want to impugn anybody's reputation here, and that's not what my intent is. I actually believe that our government officials are doing the best that they can. I believe you're very, very, very good at monitoring. I'm not so sure because I haven't seen any results that tell me that we're good at interdicting or stopping. I've got no media reports. I've got no information that tells me that we've actually stopped anything. But I do have a former colleague that tells me very clearly that Beijing was interfering in his election. And at last meeting, the former ambassador to China said that just a threat to one riding alone undermines the integrity of our process. And I believe the bar that the government is now saying is the overall election result has to be the bar in order for us to become public with information, not just undermining the integrity of one electoral district. So I'm just wondering if you can give me some clarification because I'm very, very frustrated right now with the lack of information, the lack of transparency, and the responsibility of trying to figure out how to solve this problem as a policymaker and as somebody who votes on legislation. So what is the bar? Should the bar be interfering in a single election, in a single riding, or should it be for the entirety of the country? Should the presence of any money being discussed by a foreign actor then warrant public information? At what point does the public, because the public has to maintain confidence in our systems, in our institutions. And right now, I got to tell you, as somebody who represents the public, there is not a lot of public confidence in some of our public institutions right now. And I don't want to go down that road. I'm not trying to foment that feeling. I'm trying to protect our institutions. And I'm just frustrated. So can you clarify for me? Because going into an in-camera meeting doesn't seem to resolve any of the questions that I have. Are we or are we not? Has any election, has any candidate in this country been affected directly by foreign interference in the last 2 elections? For any party. We hear about 11 in Toronto. We hear about Kenny Chiu. Yes or no? Has the needle been moved in a single riding in either of the last 2 elections?
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you, I'll take a stab at that. There was a lot in that question. So maybe just separating what occurs during an election and outside of an election, first of all, through the protocol and otherwise. There are very there's a policy in place and protocols in place during the election for very good reason, because we want to be careful that we're not interfering with the democratic process. So there are thresholds that need to be met there. It's not determined by the site task force. It's determined by the panel of 5 in terms of when something is publicly communicated. That's during an election period. Outside of an election period, as I've said, we are communicating more. I'll take the point. You can always do better, and I think certainly within the service, we're looking for opportunities to be communicating with Canadians and politicians in an unclassified setting. So certainly, I think the effort is there, and. Like I said, you had a lot in your question, and I've forgotten what the rest of it was. So it was
a rant, but that's
yeah.
Excellent.
Well, and I would say as well. So we can't speak to specific riding, specific candidates. We don't look at our measure is not whether foreign influence activity has moved the needle. When we see foreign influence activity, that's enough for us. That engages our mandate. That engages an investigation. That brings advice and assessments to government. Whether it changes the course of an election or in a riding is not something we measure, and it's probably not something we could measure even if we wanted to, making that link between the two. But
Thank
certainly,
you.
certainly when
I
we
know. When the
see
beep,
it, we
beep, beep
report it.
happens, I have to
Madam
end
Chair,
it.
my
but I
question
do
to
want-
Mr. Fisher, can you just confirm to me, I think you've said several times at this committee so far in your answers that you don't measure votes or voter intention as part of your assessment for interference. Did I get that right?
Madam Chair, what I was trying to communicate is that when we're investigating foreign influence activity during an election or outside of it, we're not necessarily, and we're not focusing on impact. We're focusing on the activity of the adversary. So if they're acting in a way that is deceitful and against the interests of Canada, that's what we focus on. Whether they're successful or not is secondary to our purposes.
Well, it just seems odd to me because the purpose of an election is for the political actors who are operating lawfully in the country to move votes back and forth. How would you know if somebody is actually interfering in an election if they weren't actually able to adjust any election results?
Well, again, we'd be looking at the activity. So if it's an agent of a foreign state who is, for example, looking to get the vote out for a certain candidate and is messaging in that regard, that's what would concern us. Whether the agent had success or not would be secondary. But any attempt of foreign influence activity would be something that we would take seriously and look into.